Hey, Storm Cousins. You already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Who are we with today? SSG Animations. You already know one of the big dogs, big cousins. Jokey Jokes known as the big cousin because I'm always the big cousin. I don't care how old you is. If you're watching and you're a part of this channel, you accepted me as your big cousin. That's just how it goes. No ifs, ands, nor buts. Alright? So, SSG Animations, this says three truly, t- three truly terrifying tales. You won't believe what happens next. What happened? We just nosy. We just nosy because we want to know what happens next. That's the reason why, that's the reason why we here. It's just the strap. We want to know what's going on. We want to know what happened next. So, therefore, we are going to find out. We're going to watch it and get all up in the nitty gritty. As I always say, feel free to go over to the channel and subscribe and stay up to date with what they're watching and what they're posting. Well, what they're watching, what they're posting. And I only say this because maybe this video was created 2 months ago. We reacted to it now. But again, there is nothing wrong with that. So just still subscribe over there and then just watch with me. Even if you see what we're watching, my commentary is different. So that's what you're here for. So let's get on into it. Grab a blunt, please. Grab a bottle of water. Grab a bag of chips so you can snack, and grab a blanket, please, so you can be snug. Let's get on into it. I have been telling y'all to go join me on Twitch. I have not been on Twitch lately, but I'm picking that up. It's just because I changed my password because I was streaming on my PlayStation, and I forgot my password, so I had to change it, and now it logged me out of here. Whole lot of. So I gotta change my password again, or just log up in here, see if I remember the password, and then change the password again. But other than that, when I'm on Twitch, you'll know. Because I'll be sharing. Boop, 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 boop. And then you have to come chat with me live time. But until then, we are here together. Okay? I told you to grab the 4Bs. And let's get up into it. Let's see what's happening. Let's see if we won't believe. Jason.
My name is Jason from Massachusetts. So me, my brother Damon, and his sister Janet, on his side, because me and him only share a father, we're out late night hanging with a few friends at this park about 10 minutes away from our grandparents' house. We would gather at the park and split up into teams to play a game of manhunt. The park was directly across from a small neighborhood with a majority of the houses really close to each other, almost connected. This neighborhood was near the water, so on the outer perimeter, it was closed off by a pond and forests. Our team was the first to hide, so the three of us decided to stick together.
What, y'all playing Manhunt?
We decided to hide in the outer perimeter because no one dared to go near there, considering there was a known group of creepy homeless people who were known for messing with kids our age and making disturbing and perverted remarks if you were a female. So, as Damon and I found our spot, Janet decided to pick one away from us, but relatively close, as she feared she would give up our spot by accident. About 5 minutes after we secured our spot, Damon and I jerked our heads to what sounded like a female scream coming from where Janet had gone off to. Without hesitation, we quickly headed towards the noise. While on our way, she let out another scream, saying, "Get away from me, you freak!" When we approached the origin of the noise, we saw this tall, slender, dirty-looking man standing over Janet with what appeared to be a steak knife. He had long, black and grayish hair that looked extremely greasy and poorly cared for. His skin was a yellowish color, along with his eyes, which were also bloodshot. He probably had a drinking problem, but could care less because he had probably given up caring about his health.
The zombie version of
We guessed he probably popped out of nowhere and swung the knife and missed, but startled Janet, causing her to fall back, considering she had no marks or scratches on her.
Okay,
My brother Damon then picked up a nearby rock that was probably
Damien.
not even close to the size of his palm, since he grabbed the closest thing he could find. I, on the other hand, was next to a branch, which I threw as soon as Damon threw the rock, since the man wouldn't be able to dodge both. And as soon as the objects left our hand, we charged and tackled the man to the ground, knocking the knife out of his hands. We then restrained him and lifted him to his feet and allowed Janet to do the honors, which she was prepared to do, until a look of anger on her face turned to what seemed to be empathy for the man. Confused, I asked her, "What are you waiting for? Give him what he deserves." She then softly replied, "Let him go. I'm sure he's learned his lesson. He's a nobody, just plain desperate. Forget about him." Damon, still fuming with anger, gut-checked the man with his left fist to his stomach. And we let go of him as his knees buckled and dropped to the ground. I then, for laughs, kicked him in the ass, sending him away. The man was shook up, but muttered in a groggy, evil voice, "You wish you got rid of me," and took off into the woods. We sighed in relief and decided to get out of there. A few weeks later, there was a report on the news that a young girl around our age was found stabbed to death in that same area. The suspect, no other than the same man we encountered during our game of manhunt. We assumed he thought Janet had come back, and he didn't want to fumble his opportunity again, and made his move. We were all stunned to the point that we turned the report off and sat in silence for about 10 minutes, only left to imagine the outcome if it actually was Janet.
Oh. Good Big Brothers, or, brothers. They didn't say ages.
This happened a long time ago, when I and my friends were in college. We were a tight-knit group of 4 friends, and all of us living in different states. None of us lived in the state that our university was in, and we all had a hard time during the holidays, as hardly any one of us could go back home to celebrate with our parents. In our last year, just like the previous years, none of us could make it back home for Thanksgiving, which meant we were all stuck in our dorm rooms eating Chinese takeout and playing video games. Being 4 boys, none of us were keen on cooking or making Thanksgiving a bit more traditional.
Because what?
We were all happy lounging on the couch and eating our ordered food. We were all aware that hardly anyone was present in the university, as most of the students and staff members were home celebrating Thanksgiving. That's when Mike, one of my friends, who is also a thrill-seeking horror enthusiast, thought it would be a brilliant idea to visit the art department building and play a Ouija board game there.
Why?
Although I was not a believer in the paranormal, I was the only one hesitant about this plan. Steph and Austin were just as excited about this plan as Mike was, so reluctantly, I agreed too. Now, there is something you should know about the art department building in our university before I proceed with this story. Our university was established in the mid-1900s. Back then, it was the leading university to learn any type of art form. But in the throes of its popularity, one of the students back then committed suicide in the main hall of the art department building, which eventually led to the downfall of that department of our university. The situation became so bad that the dean of our university had to close the art department a few decades ago. Since then, the whole building is shut down, never to be visited or reopened. Also, there is a rumor on campus that the art department building is cursed or has evil energy. We've been dying to see whether the rumors were true or not since our first year, and now seemed like the perfect time. That night, we snuck out of our dorm rooms and into the art department building. Despite having seen this building so many times while going from class to class, it still felt different when we actually stepped into it. It sent a chill down my spine. Despite the weather being warm outside, it was strangely chilly inside. Mike, being the enthusiastic one of us, started to explore the interior of the building. Steph, Austin, and I were close behind him. When you think about a department being shut down in a university, you expect the authorities to dispose of all the instruments and other important stuff in the building. But in this case, the classrooms and the halls of this department had all its stuff still intact.
Because it's haunted.
Right up to the painting canvases and brushes in some classrooms. Why would they have done that? It's said that the evil energy in this place became so heavy on the people working here that they had to shut off and seal this building.
That's what I'm saying.
Almost overnight.
Haunted, and y'all up
Steph
in there.
said out of nowhere, answering the question in my mind. How the hell do you know this, Steph? Austin asked. I'm a history major, remember? So during our lectures, one of our professors who's been teaching here for years told us the story of the art department. Or rather, the fall of the art department. Steph answered. Ah, this place would be perfect, Mike exclaimed. Austin and I exchanged a glance looking at the spot Mike had chosen. It was none other than the infamous main hall of the building, in which it's said the student had killed himself. They say the reason the student died here was that he was into black magic, and to excel ahead of his peers, he summoned the devil in one of his rituals to ask him for great progress in art. But something happened and his ritual went really wrong, resulting in his death. Some even speculate that the devil took his life as a payment and now roams the halls and classrooms of this place. Mike said,
just up in there.
I think this all could be a lie. I mean, I understand the student committing suicide, but you don't think the stories about him summoning the devil and all are true? I mean, the poor lad could simply be depressed or could have had some mental illness. I was a bit scared after hearing Mike's hypothesis, so I wish to present a fairly reasonable one. Well, if what you say is true, then that does...
Random, but y'all ever seen, or have y'all ever used the phone app? It's like chapters or it's like stories or something. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, just put it in the comments. Where it's like you can you get to be the main character in the story, and your decisions get to choose the baseline of the story. If you ever made one, now they have it, you can play it and you can also make it. If you make it, they have a lot of the characters and the movements are just like the animation. So I wonder if a lot of these creators are also just, because in reality this is all just storytelling. And if they were like, ooh, and that's where all of the animation came from. I thought it a few times, but I never thought to say it. But if you, if it's true or if anything, just put it in the comments, because I'd be looking at these and I'd be like, ooh, this is definitely given, like the little stories that I used to watch when I used to play the game. I used to create a couple.
The poor lad could simply be depressed or could have had some mental illness. I was a bit scared after hearing Mike's hypothesis, so I wish to present a fairly reasonable one. Well, if what you say is true, then that doesn't explain the misfortune of the art department after the student's death. Mike argued with me while setting up the Ouija board. Austin and Steph were busy inspecting the paintings in the main hall. Plus, Mike's counter-argument had left me speechless, so I just decided to take my seat on one side of the board. Soon, all three of my friends had joined me. Mike, being the most involved one, explained the rules, and we began our so-called experiment. For the first hour, Mike and Austin kept on asking questions, but we didn't receive any response. As time ticked by, I was becoming more and more confident about my theory that there was no ghost or evil spirit or devil lurking in the building. It was just an urban legend, let alone a rumor created by students and the staff to keep themselves entertained on campus. By the mark of 1.5 hours, even Mike was ready to give up. The coin on the Ouija board had not moved even an inch. There was no noise or any sign or indication that there was someone other than us in that building.
Good, get up out of
there. I think we should leave. It's almost 3 a.m, and I want to get some sleep before my football practice tomorrow. Steph was the star football player on campus, so no doubt he was the first one to suggest we abandon this stupidity and retire back to our dorm rooms. Right then, Mike asked what felt like the last question of the night. If there's anyone here other than us who doesn't belong to this world, give us a sign.
Why would you say that?
We were all bored and a bit sleepy, so it was an eye-opening moment when a loud knock came from the farthest corner of the room.
Goodbye.
I again looked at Austin, who was just as stunned as I was. But before we could say anything, Mike repeated his question, and another knock was heard somewhere to our left.
No, Mike!
Although Mike was thrilled at the prospect of finally getting a reply, I was scared from within, as I could sense whatever it was that was answering Mike's questions. wasn't good. Further, he asked, "Did you cause the downfall of this art department? Knock once for no and twice for yes." Immediately, we heard two knocks coming from two completely different directions.
Yeah, time to get up out of there.
At this point, Austin and Steph were no longer as thrilled as Mike, but rather starting to get scared.
Yeah.
I should have told you guys that Steph was the most religious one of us all, and he had read the Bible a couple of times.
Oh!
So when he looked visibly scared, we knew this wasn't good.
At all!
But
you
Mike
got the
wasn't
Christian
done
man
yet.
up in there
He
playing
kept
with
on
the
asking
damn
questions and receiving replies in the form of knocks. With every knock, we were losing our calm. After a while of random questions, Mike suddenly asked, "Is there a heaven?" There was only one knock in response to this, which meant the answer was no. At that point, I felt a hand on my shoulder pulling me to my feet, which turned out to be Steph.
Yeah.
He hauled up each one of us and said 3 words in a stern voice. "We should leave."
Okay.
The seriousness in his voice needed no explanation. Everyone, along with Mike, snuck out of the art department building and back into our dorm rooms.
Did y'all say goodbye?
Once we were secured in the 4 walls of our room, Mike finally asked Steph, "Why did you abruptly stop me and ask us to leave?" I wanted to know a lot more.
I bet you did, stupid
I still
ass.
remember the answer Steph gave to Mike. "Anything paranormal that denies the existence of heaven is pure and utter evil." Which means whatever that was answering your questions
Was a demon.
was so evil that it could harm us at any time.
Anytime.
We had to get out of there. After that night, none of us spoke about the art department building or shared our experience with other students or faculty on campus. But from that day onwards, I started believing in God. That night when I lay in bed, I was thankful for a lot of things. Mostly, I was thankful for the amazing life I was gifted on this wonderful planet.
You prayed?
That night,
I
they
bet
only
your
had our
ass you did
experience
pray.
with others. Night.
You better pray
None of
every
our
night going forward.
questions was so evil that it could harm us at any time.
Anytime.
We had to get out of there. After that night, none of us spoke about the art department building or shared our experience with other students or faculty on campus. But from that day onwards, I started
went to
believing
church?
in God.
Look at y'all.
That night
Don't
when
go
I lay
running
in
to God
bed,
now.
I was thankful for a lot of things.
I bet you were.
Mostly, I was thankful for the amazing life I was gifted on this wonderful planet.
And amen. Y'all over there playing with damn demons. Steph said,
This happened a few years ago, and I'm proud to say that it has not stopped me from enjoying coffee. But I can't ever have Starbucks again. I'm Mandy, and this is how Starbucks lost me as a customer. I was raised in a conservative Christian home. My parents believed coffee was a sin to drink, and if you drank it, you wouldn't go to heaven. I remember watching
You
TV
didn't even go to
during my
heaven
childhood.
for drinking coffee?
All the beer and coffee commercials, they made it all look so tempting. I was always so confused that if it was so bad, why did they advertise it on TV? My mom always told me that it was because they were followers of the devil and used those ads to tempt us.
They do, for real. But damn,
I was
the devil?
always drawn to coffee. My first job ever was at a cookie shop, and we made coffee smoothies. They were so creamy and smelled amazing. Every time I made one, I would salivate at the idea of having just one taste. One night, after I made one for a customer, I took a spoon and scooped up the extra stuff from the blender and tasted it. I wanted more, but I felt dirty, as though I did something wrong. I never forgot the taste of it and how delicious it was. That perfect blend of bitter and sweet. It was a craving I fought off for years until I became an adult. It started in college. I would always go get an iced coffee with whole milk and caramel from McDonald's. I had a habit of drinking it in the safety of my car as people who went to my church also went to my college. I feared that if they ever saw me drinking coffee, my parents would catch wind of it and I could be shamed. Then I graduated college and got my first job in an office. All my coworkers were raving about Starbucks coffee, and it was a thing to submit orders to the assistants who would go grab it. My coworker Ellie is the one who encouraged me to try it, as my inner broke college student kept getting McDonald's. "You're getting Starbucks on me today, Mandy. Pick your poison." Ellie showed me a menu she had on her phone.
It's so funny because the phrase "pick your poison" is a phrase that had like not rushed me into drinking, into drinking alcohol, because they definitely will. Oh, pick your poison. Like, I was a bartender for a little while, and 18 fresh out of the thing, so I couldn't drink, but I could work there. But closing and everything's different. They're like, "Oh, do you want a shot? Do you want a shot?" No, thank you. "Oh, are you even old enough for a shot?" No. But then you have someone that's like, "You want one anyway?" Pick your poison. No, thank you. Even if I did want it, now I don't. Pick your poison? And she about to pick one. I'm about to lie. Starbucks is fire. I used to get a caramel frappuccino. A grande.
And kept getting McDonald's. "You're getting Starbucks on me today, Mandy. Pick your poison." Ellie showed me a menu she had on her phone, and I looked over the options. She recommended the white chocolate mocha. "I'll have the white chocolate mocha then." Ellie wrote down our Starbucks order, and I noticed that she wrote down a lot of customized ingredients in her coffee. That day I was bitten by the Starbucks bug, and I found myself making customizations of my own on my orders. I was still fairly low on the ranks at my job, so when an assistant called out, I had to fill their shoes. But I didn't mind. It got me out of the office, and I wasn't the only one picking up coffee orders. One day, a few assistants called out, so there was only me and an assistant named Roy. We had a large office and at least 20 coffees we were bringing back. We drove to the Starbucks and began placing orders when suddenly a woman who appeared to be in her 60s with a bowl cut bob started yelling at everybody in there.
What's she saying?
"Sinners! You're all sinners!"
That could be
Roy
your mama.
and I glanced at one another as tension flared up in the shop. A barista that was pushing orders came out to the floor to talk to her.
"Ma'am, you can't come in here and do that. You're scaring the customers."
She stared at him with a crazed look I've only ever seen my mother give. Her eyes were wide, and her cheeks began shaking from how tightly she was clenching her jaw. Her gray hair began to frizz from the sweat coming from her pores. "I hope I'm scaring them. You all should be scared and ashamed."
God ain't gonna be mad at us over no
Then
damn coffee.
she looked at me and Roy, who were in the middle of getting everyone's coffee orders.
They people out there killing.
"How many coffees are you ordering?" Roy stood protectively in front of me.
Bitch.
It's
hey.
none of your business.
"It most certainly is, because God's business is my business.
That's not how
We
God
are
works.
commanded not to drink coffee. You two look
don't
young
even
and
say that in
fresh.
the Bible.
You have a chance." This lady looked at the teenage barista. "You're young too. It's not too late to save yourself."
Ma'am, I'm just getting my
I came
check.
out from behind Roy and looked this Karen in the eye. "Hey lady, this is not how you want to convey a message to people you think need Jesus.
It's not.
Commanded to drink coffee or not, we all get agency, and you're commanded not to take that away from anyone. I know because I grew up with those same beliefs. Let people make their choices and go focus on yourself." She stared daggers at me. Her lips twitched into a sinister smile as she pulled a handgun out of her purse and pointed it at me.
She about to shoot you
She
over
pulled
coffee?
the trigger, striking me in the shoulder, and
Oh,
I fell
she
to the
shot
floor,
you over
blood
coffee.
spurting out of my arm. Roy hovered over me as this lady opened fire on a few more people in the shop, including the poor barista that tried to tell her to leave. I blacked out and woke up in the hospital. To my surprise,
to your mom and
Roy
daddy.
was there. Roy?
Y'all gonna get married.
Hey, you woke up.
That's your man's now.
What happened?
You were shot. Thankfully, it wasn't fatal.
Were you shot?
No, I ducked down to protect you. The barista kid never made it.
Oh,
And a couple others were injured, but okay.
you just said.
Oh
that
my
old bitch.
God, that is
You said
horrible.
that you was young.
Roy explained that the cops had already been on their way, as the second the woman started yelling, the manager had called the cops. The Karen was arrested, and the local Starbucks shut down for a while due to the crime that was committed, repairs that needed to be made, and grieving the loss of a kid trying to earn money. Roy and I started dating as I was very moved by how protective he was in the coffee shop.
I knew it.
And admitted to having a crush on me. We made a mutual agreement to leave the office as everyone, including Ellie, sadly were all going crazy without their beloved Starbucks. The coffee there was good, but it wasn't enough to make me want to enter another Starbucks again. Even driving by Starbucks gives me PTSD. Roy found a job that he enjoyed doing welding, and I found another office where I was respected more. People brought their own Starbucks into work, and even though the smell of the coffees was a bit triggering, at least they went out and got it themselves.
Weird.
As I said, I still enjoy coffee, but I get it from small businesses or Dunkin' Donuts. And yes, I'll still even go to McDonald's for it.
Oh.
Be careful, folks. Coffee is on the list of major no-nos to conservative Christians, and you never know how far one will go to prove their point. If you ever come across a Karen like Roy and I did, tread carefully and don't set them off the way I did. You may just risk your life.
Girl, you gotta beat their ass before they beat Joe's. That was your fault. You sitting there talking to that lady face, and you should have been soft her, cause she out here getting hot and crazy over coffee. I ain't know coffee was a sin like that, y'all. My Nana's real Christian, like church Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday sometimes. Like, I don't know, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And she call into the Bible line. So, like, I promise you, coffee ain't worse than killing nobody. So if you're addicted to coffee right now, God is not up there like, oh my God, my child needs to stop drinking coffee. Like, I promise you, he ain't. That woman said, this is my business because God's business is my business. Like, girl, that is God. He is not your man. What? This was a good bundle of stories, just because of how just how crazy things went. That first one, I hate when stuff be out here in Massachusetts. I truly do. And yeah, I like them all. I like them all. What? The second one? Han said that boy said stop playing, and everybody want to go to church after. And I like how it transferred from that one to this one. So let me know which one your favorite. And until next time, you guys. Bye.